What is up, family? Welcome back to the Nikki Mungues Show. Yes, it is called Nikki Mungues Show because I am so excited to help empower and change so many people's lives with business, with sports, entrepreneurship, and today, you guys, today I have a very special guest. He is very special to me and our Rainbow family. And he is one of the RGDCOE here at the Eagle region. He is going to tell us his story about entrepreneurship, about his sacrifices and his struggles to make him, where he's at today. So I would like to welcome Mr. J. May, all the way from Washington. Hello.
Hey, Nikki, how are you?
I am awesome. Thank you for being on my show today.
Yeah, this is fantastic. I love what you've done with the place. Looking around here.
Man, I'm so excited to just learn more about you and to just know so much more about your story. You and I, we chat all the time. You are one of my biggest mentors and you inspire me so much, in the business. But let's talk about you. So tell us a little bit bio about you.
Sure. It all started on a journey 44 years ago when my mother, who is a fiery redhead, found that special someone. And, from there, it's been history. I'm married. I have a beautiful wife and a beautiful daughter. And yeah, just an amazing journey. We have an Australian Shepherd that I think is part human. The amount of money that my wife has spent on that dog. So yeah, it's just been a really great, great family.
Yep.
Raised with good Christian beliefs, and went to a private school for 12 years.
Wow.
A Christian private school, and that's the extent of my education in a kind of school setting, and then the rest has definitely been in the world experience. So
Yeah. See, I didn't even know that about you. Private school, growing up, we kind of have the same background too. But I just want to give a shout out. We have Puerto Rico on.
oh,
Today.
nice.
Hi, Peralta, Alex, my friend Alex Peralta. And that's one thing that we also have in common too, right, Jay? We have, this whole rainbow family, this rainbow community. I like to call it a family because wherever you go all around the world, we just have family members. So super family oriented. And I'm sure, Jay, that's like your big why in your life. You have one amazing daughter. I've met her. She's like no, she's taller than me.
Yeah.
But let's go into it. Let's talk about your rainbow journey. Where did you start? How did you get into the business? And I'm sure there has been a really big, obstacles that you had to overcome that you spoke to me about. So yeah, let's talk about how you started the rainbow business.
Sure. I came from a previous, they don't exist anymore, but a different type of sales industry. It was direct sales, and it was a different product. And I actually answered a ad in the paper, and went on to learn, I guess you would say, door to door cold call marketing. They had boiler rooms back in the day. Boiler room is, basically 10 telemarketers getting people into homes. It's a very kind of brutal approach. And then when I crossed over to Rainbow, and my friend Kirk Allen, who was with me in a previous business, said, Jay, you got to check this thing out. This thing uses water, and you can put these flavors in there. And I was like, what? You can do that? So I'm like, man, now we can hit people with smells. And then he showed me the cleaning capability, and from there, Rainbow's been a dream. I walked into this scenario coming from kind of a hardcore direct sales setting into almost like a country club, lavish way of doing things.
Right.
And the biggest thing that I saw was that, hey, Rainbow really dialed people into selling more through them than to them. That, the sale wasn't actually to the customer. The sale was actually to all the people around them.
Right. Right. I love so you already had, direct sales experience, right? Did you know that you were already good at it, or was it like kind of a journey where you had to, earn your stripes? Because going into the business, you got to have some tough skin. Especially, it's really, and I'm going to be honest, Jay, it's not for everyone. But I could see that you had that drive in you no matter what business you were at. So talk about your, just direct sales experience. Like,
Yeah, I was going to be a police officer, and
mm,
my props out to any person that deals in law enforcement. My uncle was RCMP. I don't know if people in America know what that is, but they make fun of us Canadians sometimes because they'll see the police on the horse, and that's kind of the signature picture of an RCMP officer. But they ride in cars and all that good stuff. And I always wanted to be a police officer, so I was going to go out to a place called Wainwright and go take the academy and get into law enforcement school and continue that journey. However, things cost money. So I answered this ad in the paper, and what they kind of really did is trick me into an opportunity.
mm,
And, in my first couple months, I had made more money, I guess just being able to relate to people than you could, in half a year to a year being a police officer. And then it started to come to the realization of like, well, I'm the type of guy that likes to have a lot of fun, at that
right.
age, being, 19, 20 years old. And I'm thinking, okay, well, this seems way more fun because I can, go where I want, wake up when I want, do whatever I want in the early stages of handling money. And
Right.
so that kind of attracted me that I could see a bigger picture immediately than being, unfortunately tied to a structured hourly wage. And so right there at 19 years old, I was hit with, hey, I have two choices. Listen, I could take the route that, I think I would love helping people, um, or, take the route of helping people with a product, but having a lot more freedom and being able to hit way more goals and smash them
Right.
really.
Right. And I feel like now, I mean, your journey continues and it's only getting bigger from now on, because you talked about relating to people. And that's one thing that many people don't understand, that I truly believe that's the core in building entrepreneurship. You have to be able to relate to people and get your mindset out of, okay, I just want to make a sale and get this commission. Because if you really want to make it to the top, right, Jay? Because I have my notes here, you have, promoted out branches and offices. Like, that just means you have so much vision for other people. So, how do you teach that to other people to get out of that mindset of, yes, you can be really good at sales, but it's really making an influence and building your team, and selling the dream. So how did you sell the dream to other people?
Well, I've got to give props to my mother, who
Mm.
now runs an orphanage in Malawi and is there
Oh,
half the time, every year, and dedicates a lot of that because that's what she really is passionate about. But
right.
early in my life, she was a single mother who
Wow.
I remember sitting in the car, going to the real estate school, and her, taking her courses and just, grinding it out and wanted more for me and her. We definitely did not come from money. And so I got to watch my mother become an entrepreneur at 6 years old.
Wow.
And so, how her struggle was taking care of a little one, taking on, school, and then going on to be a very successful real estate agent. So when I got into the business, it was pretty easy that, like mother, like son, uh, that you think a lot alike.
Yeah.
Is obviously, my personality. I'm very timid, very, no, I'm teasing. I'm
Just a little bit.
very outgoing, just like my mother. And
Oh my.
so watching her struggle
Yeah.
and perseverance, really helped take me to the next level in a very early stage. I remember at 12 years old, we lived on this crappy little cabin out in the middle of pretty much nowhere, 20 minutes outside of a city called Edmonton and Devon. And I got my first riding lawnmower, and this thing sucked. Like, you had to fix it every day. And I start going over to the neighbors, and I watch this one neighbor start planting trees. And I'm like, hey, where are you getting your trees from? And they're like, well, we got to go all the way to the tree farm. Then we got to haul it in our truck. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, why don't I find trees? Because there's a creek right down the road there that, I can pull this stuff out. I can hook up a wagon to my, riding lawnmower, and I'll just pop them in there for $20 a tree. And that's literally what you're spending just to go there, minus the gas, the labor, the time. And I'll get you these nice, spruce trees. So I was going down at an early age and putting, my wife is sitting through the window here. Amanda, I'm talking with Nikki Mungues. So basically, at an early age, would take the riding lawnmower, drive it a mile. Back in Canada, we call it kilometers, and pick them up out of the creek, and then bring them over to people's houses, start planting them, and started the journey that way.
Wow. See, I didn't honestly, and I'm going to keep saying this because the more I just learned so much more about you, Jay. But I just want to give a shout out to Jackie Peralta and Kevin. They're all tuning in. The whole Peralta family is on. Kevin said, if you ain't first, you're last, Jason. Jackie said, Jay, you are shy only when you are with me. Victoria Peralta said, hello to both of you. Love hearing my Rainbow family's life stories. You know what? Like, that is really huge. I feel like here in Rainbow, like, we see everybody's accolades, everybody's doing, amazing, right? You look up to these people, like, you're Rainbow celebrities, but there's only so little that we know of you. Like, I didn't know that was your story. Like, your mom was a single mom hustling and grinding, and I can relate to that because I see, shout out to all the moms here, because honestly, I don't know how you guys do it. Like, being a mom is already a full-time job, and having to take care of your kids and being home. So all the mamas here, shout out to you guys, Mafe, Jasmine, and even Amanda, like, I just have so much love for all the women out there who have, because they raise amazing people, like you. And I feel like I can relate to as well, because from your childhood, Jay, you have seen that. And I feel like how you raise your kids is really big as well. And so you have gone through, your own, you've experienced, your mom go through it. And now, being an entrepreneur, this is my really big question, right? A lot of people say it's what is that quote? It's simple, but it's not easy. So what are some obstacles that you had to overcome, in the Rainbow business? And we can be as transparent as possible, because
Sure.
we're really trying to inspire as many people, in this world here. So
Well, let me start you off with a story about entrepreneurs, right?
okay.
So
Yes.
I think I got my real taste of being an entrepreneur around 16, when I was, going to high school, playing basketball, going to a private school where they put a lot of emphasis on education. And I was like, I like the sports side of this, right? Then I started a part-time job on a potato farm. And this potato farm, I was sitting on the back of this, big combine thing that pulled you along, and you pick dirt clumps out. And I was like, well, this kind of sucks. Right? At the end of the day, you were, painted black in dirt because, it was just so dusty. But then I worked my way up, and they had a position where they opened up this, I watched them open up this big business called the Little Potato Company. Okay. And they, we have them all over the stores in Canada. And so I got to be a part of that journey. But they said, hey, listen, the problem is we don't have enough potato boxes, these big pallets and this and that. I'll tell you what, if you can build these things together, right, we'll pay you per thing you built. And I was like, sweet, right? So that means I wasn't working hourly now. I was working by piecework. And so I I started doing it, and I was really slow at it because I was like big heavy nail gun, putting it in these, these pallets, and then lifting them off, and then recreating them. And so the next part was I then put, I found a way where I made it that you could hold two nail guns and start doing double the time. And I was like, sweet. So I was pulling in some baller cash at 16 years old, working on this little farm that was opening up a giant business and working by piecework. So I did that for probably part-time, a year straight, building these potato boxes. And I'm telling you, at 16, 17 years old, making, grown-up money, as they would say, because I was able to find a way. Hey, I was like, oh man, if I put 10 of these quickly together, right, I could make this much, and that's great. So finding solutions, that's the story behind your question. There is that entrepreneur. I might challenge you on this one, Nicole. There is nothing easy about being an entrepreneur. We can get into that, in the stages of entrepreneurship. The one thing about being an entrepreneur is realizing that everything very exciting is in your own hands, right? So that's exciting. You get to be the creator of what's going on in your life, right?
Right.
Now that's also the scariest thing, especially when most entrepreneurs don't even know how to get from A to B, A to C, and they're going to go through a lot of pitfalls along the way. And then not only that, they're getting challenged by outside sources. Even if we take a look at our own business, right? And are you the type of distributor that when you have a new person there, can you see beauty in them? Can you see, how quickly that we could grow them? Why are we limiting people ever? So I always tell every single person that walks through our door that you can be an independent distributor and run everything the way you like it, hopefully with all the tools that we give you. And I believe in you. Now, the problem is that we get to a certain stage, and that's probably in the growth stage, where we don't think anybody can do what we do. Well, that's a really kind of stressful way of looking at things, because I'm going to tell you that if imagine this, you're going through, you want to be an astronaut, and you have so many people saying, hey, listen, you could probably work in the engineer room, and you could probably work in the artifacts room, and you can do this and you can do that, but I just don't think you're ready to get into space yet. And imagine you kept hearing that along your journey. However, imagine if you were the type of person to help that person along and say, hey, listen, you're going to be a distributor, right? But what I need you to do is get into the engineer room. I need you to get into the artifact room. I need you to get into the, whatever the heck the rooms are. Those people are way smarter than me. And you're guiding them along the journey, but you're always filling them with confidence because you see something in them that they're going to be there. See, that's where entrepreneurs struggle. They're either going to have those mentors that say, hey, listen, we're going to carry you, take you all the way. We got to go through a whole bunch of stuff for you, to help you get there. So that way you do it successfully, but never limit them. Right. So I don't even know what the question is. I got on a rant here, Nicole.
No, you're good. We have people tuning in. As like I said, I love to engage with people. My mom said, inspiring story. You're amazing, Jackie Peralta. Exactly. Everyone that walks into our office should be welcomed and treated as our next big star. Our number one job is to open doors. And I love that. And I absolutely love that, because every time you see, and I was reading J.B. Sanders' book, you probably have it, and he said that he never saw people for who they were. They saw them for how amazing and great that they can be. And that's what's made him so, a historic man, in our business. And if we could just plant those seeds in people and treat them the way that we see that they can be capable of, becoming, I feel like we can all, just change, this world together. And Rainbow is just our vehicle, Jay. Like it's really our vehicle. But now, what are your tools? What are the tools that have helped you get to where you're at? Like, do you have mentors? Like, what do you do extra, like extraordinary to, be where you're at. Like for me, I talk to my mentors all the time. I communicate with you. My mom's a really big one, mentors of mine. Doug is there as well. So did you have mentors? Like what was your basically mindset and routines that you had, as a young entrepreneur in the business?
Yeah, that's a pretty loaded question because we go through a lot of mentors in our life, especially at certain stages of our life, and the biggest mentor you can have is obviously God.
Right.
And anytime you get into a struggle that you don't think you can handle, you have to put it out there so that
Right.
you can have help getting that handled. But people in my life, obviously my mom, my dad's work ethic. Um, I would have to go on to say, as the journey rolled forward, I had some really good friends that had done some amazing things. Um, Kirk Allen, he's one of my buddies, and from there, Dave Spady, I would say, moving on, Mike Rowaldi, Todd Giggleman, Doug Stewart. There's so many mentors. There's so many amazing people that just having connections with and being able to bounce stuff off each other and challenge each other's ideas. Uh, yeah, the list goes on. Jeff May, just so many people
Right.
that have influenced us along this 20-year journey that we could sit here and write a book on everybody who helped us get to the next level, from pastors to the relationships we built in Rainbow, like yourself, and even the new people. It's crazy how much new stuff you
You can
learn
learn.
from,
Right.
from new people. And I think as we get older, we get more accepting of ideas, right?
Right.
So
Right.
mentorship, just a ton.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so what is one thing that you would say? Well, it could be a couple. To someone who is brand new, to the business, zero sales experience, and I'm sure that there are people on your team that have had that right now, because I have people that are brand new, never, was in direct sales. And so what are a couple things that you would like to tell them as they are starting, whether it goes with taking risks, sacrifices?
That's a good question. And I guess the question goes back onto them. you
Right.
know, is why are you here? What haven't you found yet? What are you
Mm,
looking for? Why are you looking for? And some guidance I try to give people is, listen, a lot of times there's more month than money, right?
right.
And so a lot of people get stuck in this rut where they have to have a house and then they have to take care of the family, and yet they can never really pursue their dreams. And you have to find, you might have to do both while you're doing it. But why are you here? A lot of people are not satisfied with their careers or where they're at. There's
Right.
lots of stats out there about people changing their careers 2, 3 times, even in their late 40s and 50s, right?
Right.
So they've always wanted something more. So first, gravitate to what you like doing.
Right.
Understand that there's going to be a lot of hard work to do it. One thing, especially in the U.S. here, learning, coming from Canada, is that the healthcare system here is a very convoluted, very hard thing to try to navigate,
Yeah.
right? And so my experience with tearing 2 Achilles from playing sports in literally 3 years has been a bummer. But
Goodness.
just going to the hospital trying to figure out how to, what do we do? Da 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 da,
Right.
right? And I always tell people, listen, if you can find a career that you're 80% happy with, right? Because it's getting you closer to your goals, and the 20% is the work ethic that sometimes you don't want to be working that day, but you push on through. Is that if somebody in your family ever got sick, right?
Yeah.
Could you take care of them fully, right?
Right.
And you never want to be the reason why you can't take care of somebody, right? Especially close to you. So that would be number one, a really big why. And number two is what are you looking for? You
Mm,
know, a lot of entrepreneurs, here's the problem that starts happening with them. They're never happy with where they're at. And
right.
if I could give one piece of advice, it's hard. It talks about it in the Bible, envy, all that stuff. You have to be happy with what you have. If you can't be content with what you have today, however can you be happy with more if given to you? And the
Right.
Lord blesses you, if you're happy and content with what you have. Blessings just come, right?
Right.
And so that's the first stage is being happy. If you're a brand new entrepreneur, you got to be happy with what you have today because you'll never be happy with more if you get it.
Exactly. It's like, how can God give you $1 million when you can't even handle $100?
Yeah, that's $100 is in the gas tank on Thursday and out on Friday. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? So,
seriously.
yeah.
Be grateful and just love what you have going on for yourself and just enjoy the journey. And one thing that, I love going on trips, right? And so that's what Rainbow is about and, entrepreneurship. But
Oh, yeah.
let's talk about fun. Let's
Okay,
talk about
Nicole,
having fun. Yes.
have I got a story for you?
Okay,
All
let's
right.
tell it.
So I can't even remember. It's so crazy. So one thing in our business is that we get blessed a lot with trips, which
Yes,
trips are good for one thing is going out and connecting, but bad for another thing because you're always, coming back and working on the things that might have kind
right,
of slowed down. And I'm not at that stage where I have everything humming along that if I was gone, they do, everybody does better, right? I
right,
can't wait to get to that stage and we're
right.
building towards it.
You
But
will.
there was a time where we had won masters, which is one of the awesomest achievements that Rexair, our company, gives people. That you go out, you do a really good job in promotion, you do a really good job and work really hard for a year and hit a certain sales standard. They take you on this magical trip. So it's January now, and I got to try to remember the timeline. So bear with me because it was a few
Okay.
years ago. But we had to go to New York City, had to, okay, and stay at the Four Seasons, right? And
Okay.
spend time there with the best of the best in our business, right?
Okay.
Then we had won a trip that previous year to go to Switzerland with the best of the best for that quarter. So going right from New York to Switzerland. Then we had a PCI trip, one of our, awesome finance companies that brought us to Zihuatanejo. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but it was absolutely gorgeous. So
Right.
then we had to go there. Then from there, I had to go on to Jamaica as well. So I literally was out of my business for about 4 weeks. And if I were to tally up all, and I'm sure there was another trip in there because it was a long time,
Right.
the amount of money that people had spent on Amanda and I to reward us for good behavior and promoting opportunity was over $100,000 that people had spent that we had worked hard for. And so it was just absolutely incredible to tell somebody, hey, listen, we had to take a month, 5 weeks off work just to receive the benefit and the bonuses was
Yo.
astronomical. And imagine going on, and I'm telling you, Nicole, these trips aren't Mickey Mouse. When
No,
we
I
the
believe
Four
it.
Seasons, by the big park in New York, and at that time, COVID had just started. The buzz had started going on, so we kind of had New York to ourselves because we were like, virus. What the heck
Right.
is that? Well, let's go to a show, right? There's no crowds right now, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was amazing.
That is so funny. Alex Peralta said, poor Jay.
Listen, I was tired after those trips, okay? Nobody understands how exhausting it is to have so much darn fun, right?
Oh my goodness. And Anna Stalling is hopping on too. She's tuning in with us. I mean, it's just that's crazy. Like, I know I was talking to Auntie Beth Picasso, and she said in 1 year she didn't even like unpack her toiletries because she traveled so much. And I know the Peralta family, I saw a list of all the places that the Peralta family has gone to. And it's just so amazing how, like you said, you get treated, as such, and they're not just the regular trips that you can go to. And I mean, for me, I obviously want to get to that point, but last year I traveled, I think 5 times. Like I would say 90% of my trips, were all paid for. And that's just me, being a group leader. But I can't even imagine you guys have the regional trips. I know you have your divisional trips. You have the Rexair, the PCI. But it's just the lifestyle. It's really the lifestyle that we all are just so blessed to have, right? Because it's just having fun. And so, you know, I have a question, and this is a question for myself too, because you get to a point where you're just grinding so hard to reach that goal, right? How do you prevent burnout?
You burn out. Wow. Okay. Well,
No, this is a question I get asked all the time. Like,
yeah, you're probably asking the wrong entrepreneur because let me give you a little bit of a life story. The journey to get to where you are. You can burn out after you get there,
mm,
but I'm going to tell you, balance is really hard, and they always say
it's
God,
tough.
family, and work, right? And you know, but you do the work to provide for the family as you're trying to live in the influence of God. But here's the thing, I don't know, I don't, everybody says you need to have balance or the scales tip, but the problem is that when you are going out and you are striving to achieve something that nobody in your family may have achieved, that you're going to sacrifice, and we can get into sacrifice today,
Yes.
a little bit about what to expect, because nobody knows the sacrifice that an entrepreneur puts in until they've
Right.
arrived, right?
Right.
So
Right.
everybody wants to get out there. Yeah, I want to own my own business. All right, that's
Yeah.
awesome, right? But then half the time they're going to the chicken dinners, they're going to be at every barbecue, they're going to be at every you know hula hoop dance. They're true sacrifice is, there's two ways to get there. There's never, and there's really quickly. I always like to choose the route of, let's just get it over with. Let's just start pushing. And unfortunately, sometimes you do feel tired. But if you don't feel tired, then you're not working enough,
That's very true.
right? So you will have balance. But where do you want to balance your life? Do you want to balance your life when you're 20 to 30, 30 to 40? Do you want to have that balance right there, and then by the time you're 50, you're sitting in some senior's home, that your kids have to pay for, that you can
Yeah.
enjoy all the things when you don't have to work? Or do you want
Right.
to have that balance that, hey, maybe you could retire at 50 years of age, or semi-retire, because you never retire when you're an entrepreneur, but
Right.
where you can just go live life, and enjoy all that journey, right? I'm not saying that you have to give up time with your family and stuff, but there is massive sacrifice, as being an immigrant to the USA, at a
Right.
later stage in my life, there's a lot of sacrifice.
Right. Amy said, taking notes, Jay. Jackie Peralta said, you will burn out because of the intensity of helping others. Trying to push others to reach their full potential is actually what causes the burnout, and it never ends. And so I feel like there really is no balance. Oh, there's someone at the door. Sorry. Um, but I truly believe that, sorry, 1 second. It,
That's a really nice doorbell.
tuning in, share this to your group, share this to your teammates, because we're about to get into a really big topic called sacrifice. All right. And so, that is a really big part of being an entrepreneur. But a lot of people prevent, or they don't want to, be a part. They don't even like to feel, what is that word? Getting uncomfortable, right? That is a really big thing in our business. You have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Thanks, Anna. Um, and so as we're talking about sacrifice, right? What are a few things that you had in your career that you had to sacrifice?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of sacrifice. I guess I could give you the journey to America. right?
Right.
Moving. There was an opportunity that Rexair gave Amanda and I because we had done a really great job of being able to travel, be able to help people open up locations, and of course they were great people. It's not that hey, you guys are amazing. It's no, the amazing people did a giant part of the work, but we were able to help them with their opportunity. And so, coming to America, at some point, without getting into all the details, we were making very comfortable money. And I'm talking very comfortable money, like money that people, don't think of, right? We were making a passive income any given time of twenty to $40,000 a month, and some months could be higher, and no months were ever lower. So the point is that we already had a running awesome oiled machine that was working really well and had amazing people involved in all that, right? And a lot of people know all the Canadians out there. One thing we're known for is obviously not just our looks, right? But is our tenacity to work. Where I'm from, we came from oil country. So, people would go slog out in the snow and minus 40 weather, and they would work outside in oil rigs and whatever they do, and it was hard work, right? And so Amanda and I, Rexair had talked with us about coming to America and really working on the Pacific Northwest. And there came a time where we had to choose. It was hard to run a business in Canada, and it was hard to run a business in America. And, we had to give up 80% of our business. So think about that. That's a lot of money. So I'm left with some choices and some routes. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, the population of Canada is, call it 35 million people, right? And the population of the US is close to 400 million. So I started weighing out what more could Amanda and I do? What more legacy could we do for our vision? And as an entrepreneur, you have to take some risks. So we decided to go all in and start immigrating to the country. And when we got here, it was me and a beautiful lady named Rachel Busker, all right, and came down in our, vehicles and started setting up that journey. But through that time, we just get to America, we give up 80% of our business, right? We then get into, I don't know if you guys heard that nasty word, the IRS, right? And start learning crazy tax laws that we had no idea about, right? So we're in a new country, immigrating to the country, working on visas, trying to figure out how the heck does somebody actually open a business in America? Because it is completely different than in Canada, right? How you pay your taxes is completely different in Canada. In Canada, you can hit a button, boom, pay. In America, I don't know. They're on some sort of mailing system still. It's like it's archaic a little bit sometimes, but it's And coming out to this country, I just fell in love with it. There's just so much people and opportunity here. So I said, you know what, Amanda, I got this. I believe in myself. I know what you can do. We got this. So I had to move here part-time, going back and forth while we still had the business there. And that was very stressful because you saw your family so many times in a year. And then COVID hit. Okay, so I'm starting a brand new organization, gave up 80% of my income, starting from scratch with some great people here, of course. It wasn't just by myself, but some great people here who believed in the vision that I had. And then COVID hits. Okay, so now we have people telling us, hey, you can't distribute your product. So I had to find ways around that, going through that time. And then because of the visa situation, Trudeau from Canada was acting absolutely insane and creating these situations where you couldn't travel comfortably and you'd have to take a test here, and that test didn't line up with the email. So Amanda and I literally saw each other a couple times for a whole year. So imagine that. You're in a new country, you haven't been able to move your family down, COVID hits, you give up 80% of your lifestyle, okay? And then you get a phone call one day, and that phone call is from your wife, and I think my daughter at the time was 7. So just this
Oh my goodness.
budding image of me, and Amanda's like, Jay, we got a problem here. Your daughter is telling people you're dead. She
Oh,
hasn't seen you. And I'm telling you, like, you want to start crying as a big
Maggie.
macho guy, that's the time to do it. And so you're financially weakened, right?
Oh
You
my
can't
gosh.
distribute the product the way you want to. You're learning a whole new taxation, right? And
Right.
and moving from doing it legally, by the way, guys, we definitely get taxed a lot more than Americans do, especially running a business from Canada to here. And the good news is we're getting our green card this year, super awesome. And, a lot of stuff goes away, with other things. But so that's sacrifice. You're sitting here, your family's back there, you're trying to figure out how to come up with solutions. You're making massive sacrifice. Your family starts looking at you like, are you okay? Did you make the right decision for your family? And I get it. Self doubt is one of those Satan's way of creeping in at us and trying to distract us from our ultimate goals. Because so that was like the footprints thing. You start praying and you're like, okay, how do I get out of this situation? How do I move forward? How do I make things work? And you surround yourself with some amazing people that kind of help you through these times. Now, here's the beautiful part, Nicole, is that we started with 0 sales here. This month, hopefully, we end up with 180 sales, right? We're
Wow.
halfway to what it took us 15 years in Canada to build. And we have some amazing people on the team. We have, Vern and Tina. We have Rachel and Sam. We have Bryce going for his opportunity. We have Johnny going for his opportunity. We have Chris and Brett. And then, of course, all the people that are budding stars like Rick's and Jasmine's. And I don't want to forget naming people, and I've always had, really great marketing. Leanne's been with me for a very long time and has seen my vision of, hey, let's go set up 20 shops. And, we're at 7 locations right now, about to just really bloom. And, Amanda and I were blessed with having 2 waterfront properties. I don't know if you guys also know the journey from Canada to the US, your dollar is a lot stronger than the Canadian dollar, obviously, because you have a lot more industry and people. But if I were to bring $100,000 over the border, that would only be 75 or $70,000. So now you get hit with, I couldn't even open a bank account. This is even funnier. I had to bring cash over in my pockets and try to pay for things because I couldn't even open up a bank account for 4 months. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. And then paying people and stuff like that because it was really hard. Wells Fargo looked at me and they said, well, you want to open a business here? Well, you don't even have a place here yet. Things like that. So the struggle is very real when you're immigrating from a different country. Sacrifice is that knowing you have to have enough belief in yourself
Right.
that it doesn't matter. And sometimes we all stall out. There's moments in our career where we kind of get, like you said, the burnout stage. I wouldn't call it the burnout stage. I think it's a mental uh, break to try to
Mm,
figure out things and take on a lot more challenges, right?
right.
So, yeah, again, nobody will understand what Amanda and I went through, giving up profit, giving up family time, giving up all this stuff. But I'm going to tell you, we are so thankful for the opportunity to create a giant division and help 20 more offices be able to propel. And of course, I feel that us blessing more people is going to come back even more, right? And we just have a bigger population to do it in, and it's amazing. So I'm very thankful for those feelings that God hit me with, because there were some times where you want to doubt if you did the right thing. Just move to a different country and try to figure it out. You'll get a lot of self doubt involved in that. So when you're an entrepreneur, and we're talking sacrifice, sacrifice means basically that at some point you're going to have some self doubt. And the good news is you got this.
I feel like that's just a sign, to just keep going. Right. And if you guys are tuning in, I want to know who's tuning in. Drop some hearts in the chat because I want to know who's feeling inspired right now because that story right there, you can tell. I'm sure that that can change tons of people's lives because not a lot of people will have, the guts to even do what you did because that is scary. To
Yeah,
be
you don't
away
even
from your
have to do
family,
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
people here who live in America don't have to go through those giant hoops. So, you know, I've heard people say, "Ah, we immigrated from here and we immigrated from here," but never truly understand it until I understood it until I did. But putting things out there, Nicole, which is this painting here. If you put things
Yeah.
out to the universe, so Dave and Carla and I were sitting at a bar, and I looked at this painting right there. You guys can see it. I call that our pre-rainbow career. Okay, it's a crazy picture. And we're sitting at a bar, this cool little bar downtown in Edmonton. And I'm like, Dave, I want that painting. And I asked the bar owner, and I said, hey, can I buy that? He's like, no way. And I always had it in my brain. I'm like, that painting is so cool. I actually paid more for the frame than the painting itself. But I kept
Oh
putting
my
it out
goodness.
there. I want this painting. So I joined a men's basketball league. And I start playing basketball. And I'm talking to this guy. I'm like, yeah, this bar downtown has this painting that I just absolutely love. And he's like, which one? I'm like, the guy that had a kitten on his shirt and he has like a skullet. And he's like, oh, my girlfriend painted that. I'm like, your girlfriend painted that? Could she paint one for me with a rainbow on the shirt? And all of a sudden, it was what a small world when you start putting things out there, things start happening. And so that's
That's
kind
so crazy. That's the reason why you wanted to ask about that.
of put it out there, right?
You gotta put it out there. It's so funny. Like we're on the regional Zooms, and I've always actually wanted to ask you, like, why is there a painting of the moon behind you and a man? Like, oh
Oh,
my
it's so
goodness.
fun.
So shout out to people tuning in. We have Mike. Mike Whitworth is on, Gabby from PCI. Thank you guys for tuning in. Um, and so hey, like we've talked about so many things, sacrifice, traveling, getting people into the business, putting it out there. I feel like for me, words are so powerful. Words become, well, your thoughts become your words. And so that's why I'm very, 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 you know, careful with the things that I say. And, positivity is one topic that a lot of people struggle with, and being positive. I know this is a loaded question again, but what helps you become so positive, at your early stage, in the business, because there's so many negativity out there. And basically, my
Hmm.
question is, how do you block out all the
I
negativity
love that. That's
and the
actually
haters?
telling you, I've struggled with that too. I used to care about what people, said about me or thought
Right.
about me, and then you get to a stage where they're like, oh, that doesn't matter. Blocking out noise. Let's talk about that. Let's
Yes.
let's put the earmuffs on. I know you
So
guys don't use it out in California, but when it gets super cold in Canada, we put these things that look like rabbit tails over our ears, okay? Just to keep our eardrums warm. I wear it because I'm married, right? Kind of
okay.
helps out. No, I'm just teasing.
Amanda.
She'll kill me later. That's fine. So blocking out the noise. So listen, and we can't fault people for this because again,
Correct.
remember when a baby turns into a toddler who turns into a say my daughter's age preteen stage, they feel they can go out and conquer anything and be anything they want because they got their doting parents being like, you got this, don't worry about this, you got this. But then when we start turning 18, you got a
Mm,
bunch of people saying, oh, you don't got this, oh, I wouldn't do that,
it's scary.
right? And then you have the haters out there and the people that truly aren't there for your success, right? That envious stage, right? Where basically they're like, oh, well, if that guy does better than me, then he's going to have more things than me. And just weird shit like that. Or stuff, I mean, right?
That's
So,
okay.
so you have that. So you have to get, and I started really learning that probably turning 40 on is that
Mm,
there's a few people that, you would ask their opinion about and hope that they would challenge you. But I'm telling you, keep that circle super small and don't care. You're going to have conflict with lots of people and conflict meaning that they're not going to agree with all your opinions and that's okay. Right.
right.
However, a lot of times that conflict is coming from people that's not even at the stage that you're at. So you have to
Exactly.
take a realization into that and it's not their fault. They just don't understand. Then you're going to have a lot of people out there, whatever type of business you do, like if you're a representative in Rainbow, you're going to have some representatives be like, oh, I can't believe that. You know, you're just like, man, you haven't even crossed the threshold of learning how to run a business, and you're telling me how much a frag pack should be. You know, it's something silly, right? And just silly little things like that, right? So that's okay because they just don't understand yet. So in order to block out the noise, you got to also be the person that's going to help carry them through learning all that stuff. And I'm going to tell you, you have to have a lot of patience because there's some days where, I was thinking about getting a hair transplant, just pulling my hair out, being frustrated, but that's where you can lean on some great people and say, hey, I'm dealing with a situation here. I think I should handle it this way. A lot of times they'll get the agreement, or a lot of times it'll be, hey, wait, maybe look at it this way. And blocking out noise and self-development really helps. So, I have a sauna at home. I think everybody should get one. I could probably hook you up. You can pour water on it, sit in there in 174-degree temperatures, and then listen to a podcast. Because when you fill your cup, Todd Giggleman, for instance, kind of got me onto this. I went to a Christian school, did all this stuff. But, he started when I got into challenging situations, like, Jay, just pray about it. Things will open up. So in the morning, you get up, you pray, you start trying to get your mindset right, listen to some good positive energy, because you're going to get attacked each and every day. That's the world we live in, with a whole bunch of negativity or challenges. And then at the end of the night, you got to redo the same thing so you can equip yourself with some really great stuff before you go to sleep. Because when people are stressed, it tends to make them do the things that they're shouldn't be doing. And so if you can be really patient, and that's the hardest thing that I probably struggle with, is being a lot more patient, and something that I definitely have to work on each and every day. And hopefully I'm getting better at it. And blocking out a lot of noise and not letting things get to you. Because, Nicole, it's not like we're dealing with, you just hit a poor puppy on the street and now you're dealing with all these crazy emotions. You might be dealing because somebody said something, or somebody doesn't think the way you do, or somebody challenges you in different ways. It's not a big deal. So block out the noise.
Blocking out the noise is really big.
One more thing. Think about the campfire thing, right? So imagine your big campfire here, right? You got, 4 or 5 people, but you got that one guy that's like, I don't like your campfire, right? I want to go over and make my own campfire. Okay, so no problem. You let him go over there. But then all of a sudden, he sees more and more people go towards your campfire, and the fire gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and he's sitting there with himself and maybe another person he was able to negatize himself with. And all of a sudden, they're like, well, our fire kind of sucks. I actually want to go back to that fire. So letting your light shine bright a lot of times will block out a lot of that negativity. And, just letting people realize, like, hey, you're always welcome, but, if you're going to do that campfire, do that way over there, please. Okay?
Right. And just always move with love. Right. And so you had said something, working on yourself. I saw this quote. I think I was listening to a podcast, but work on yourself more than you work on your business. Because yourself is the business. And if how you handle yourself, right, will be reflected on how you handle your business. And I'm sure, you probably have a collection of books, or, listen to tons of podcasts that just help mold you to become the man, the leader, and the business owner that you are today. And so if you're watching this, you guys, like, self-development and building your faith is huge. Faith in yourself, faith in God, whatever God that you guys believe in. I believe in God. And just practicing it, because it's so big. Like you said earlier in this podcast, everybody wants to become a business owner. Everybody wants to make, millions of dollars. But number one, they don't want to put the work in. It's not even the work in the business, but the work in themselves, in themselves. And so, couple last questions before we end off. What are a few things that you would have told your younger self?
Well, that's easy, right? Don't let your wife get an Amazon account. So that would have been I'm totally teasing. Block out the noise. have way more patience. A lot of things in life are going to stress you out, but they're actually not stressors.
Mm.
And just taking your time, thinking more, really cutting down reaction time. Um, so yeah, if I could go back and tell myself a whole bunch of things, man, I would be like triple the way of a journey now, right? So, but I think God gives us these experiences to maneuver us into a position where He wants us, right? And yeah, that I think that would be, just really that patience, love, kindness, all the teachings of the Bible. You know what I mean?
You would have told your younger self. And I asked that question because, um, we become the people that we needed when we were younger.
True.
And yeah, it's so true. Last Jackie said, Jay, talk about how you learned to follow dress code at business meetings, banquets, and galas.
Yes. So Picasso, he dressed a certain way, and some of us are artists. But you know what the funny part is, Nicole? You remember back in the day. I remember you at meetings when we would go to San Francisco years and years ago.
Yes.
And I was always the guy that just didn't like wearing a suit. I was just
Yeah.
that guy. But do you notice now that a lot of the flavor is, hey, wear some great Lulus and nice shirt and get in there and be on the same page with the customer. And yes, there's always a time and a place, of course. But yes, I was always that one that was a little bit different. I'd wear shorts to the pace setter meetings. So
Oh my goodness, that's
I was trying
hilarious.
to create a fashion. A lot of people watch fashion shows and like they would wear that. Well,
Yeah.
maybe that's what I was going for.
You had your own trend going on.
That's right. My wife still tries to dress me. So
No, well, I love it. I love everything that you have said. And I've learned so much, more about you, just the history that, your childhood growing up, the reason why you're so, head on to entrepreneurship and why you just like to have so much fun. Exactly. Shorts and flip flops. Jackie Peralta said, Vernon Tina said, windbreakers are Jay's specialty.
Windy over here.
I love it. Well, Jay, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, just to be on my show, and just whoever sees this, you guys, make sure you tag people in the comments and share this to your teams because, for me, I like to follow people who are inspiring and who have already done it and who have, you know, um, been through the struggles, but they've pushed through and they've overcome. And as you can see with this podcast, this will not be the last. Okay, we're gonna have, other interviews as well, because I'm sure we want to know so much more about, how you got through certain things. This was just, the beginning of starting, your brand, Jay, and on social media, because you have done it and you have inspired so many. Mafe said, great conversation. Jackie said, sending my love. Thanks, Jay and Nicole. And I really appreciate it. So, Jay, any other thing you want to say to your
Yeah.
viewers, your fans?
Thank you guys for all bearing down and hearing the story. Uh, One thing that I would, because we really wanted to talk about sacrifice and being an
Right,
entrepreneur, right? Is that somebody has always worked harder than you. Remember
right,
that. So if you're
right,
feeling tired, somebody out there is working even more. And it's just, what does your tired want to be? Are you tired of the way you're currently living and you want to change and you want to be an entrepreneur? Rainbow is an amazing vehicle. And
right,
so you got to get it dialed in. You got to put hours and hours of training in. You then got to get out there. And the cool part is that you can make more than doctors. You can make more than astronauts. You make more than whatever you want to make, right? And then you can get into some really exciting stuff like real estate portfolios and finance portfolios and a whole bunch of wonderful other things. And so work really hard, keep the noise out, sacrifice, and understand that here's what's going to happen. You're going to get dropped off on a boat, and you're going to be on your little island, right? tip of the island, and all of a sudden you're going to get hit with a whole bunch of storms, and you're going to fight through it. You're going to build your hut. You're going to get your bananas. You're going to be able to survive. You're going to keep doing it. And then all of a sudden, once you finally have figured out how to survive in that environment, all of a sudden the clouds disperse and you realize that you're not on a little island.
Mm.
You're on this massive landmass and that there was so much more for you, but you were just fighting to just figure it out. Once you figure it out, man, the sunshine comes and now you're living in Bora Bora and life is great. So, yes, there is a big reward at the end of it. And just hitch your wagon to people who are going to help carry you. Keep yourself around positive influences. But the biggest thing is we believe in you. And every one
Right.
of you can be a distributor here.
Right. Right. It takes, faith, belief in yourself, and surrounding yourself with the right people. Right. And you have Polar Nation is your division, correct?
That's right.
Polar Nation, you guys are all the way up in Washington, and you have branches out in where again, Jay?
So we've been working on some parts of Montana, Washington, Oregon. We have just some amazing people that are helping us get to this dream of 20 offices, and obviously we don't want it to stop there, but let's get to the first milestone and rock it out. But yeah, we kind of take care of a little bit of area, and it's great. We love it.
That's awesome. And that goes back to being, grateful for what you have, because God is just going to give you so much more. But you guys, that concludes our interview with the one and only Jason May. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and make sure, like I said, like, comment, and share this to whoever you think will be inspired. All right. See you guys. Thank you for tuning
Well, appreciate
in.
you.